Next, let's take a look at the camera tools. They're new tools that will only be active once we have 3D enabled, and if we're looking through one of these orthographic views, we can take advantage of these without moving our layer around. Up here in the toolbar, right next to the rotation tool, you can see the camera tools. Now by default, it may be set to Orbit Camera Tool, or it may be any of the other ones in the list. By clicking and holding the icon, we can see all of these, which include the tools for orbiting the camera, tracking XY, and tracking the Z. Orbiting the camera will allow us to rotate the camera. Now, because we don't have a camera in our scene, we're going to be controlling the virtual camera. We can also control the camera in these views by using Track XY and Track Z. Track XY will move it along the X and Y coordinates, whereas Track Z is going to move it in and out along the Z axis. Each of these camera tools works very differently than the selection tool for moving the layer around. If we have the Orbit Camera tool selected, and you can note that the shortcut for this is C, then typing C again will toggle through the different tools in our camera tool. We'll start with the Orbit Camera tool. Now if we click and drag in our top view with this tool selected, you may get an error message or an error sound when you try. This is because there is no rotation value in the orthographic view. However, we can use the XY camera tool or even the Z camera tool. By typing C on the keyboard, we'll change our camera tool to XY. Now as we click and drag, we're moving the camera that we're looking through. We're not changing the values for any of the layers in our composition. We're merely changing the way we're looking at those layers. Now the same is going to be true for all of the other orthographic views. We'll use C on the keyboard again to change to the Z camera tool. Now by clicking and dragging up, we'll zoom in closer to our scene, and if we click and drag down, we'll zoom out, moving the camera further from the center of our composition. Now you may be tempted to hold down the spacebar in order to use the hand tool. Remember, this isn't going to change what you're looking at in your composition. This is simply going to help you navigate around your composition window. So if I hold down the spacebar, then click and drag, you can see that I'm moving the view around inside the composition panel. We'll simply use the Alt and the / or the Option and the / on the Mac in order to get this back inside the center of our composition panel. Rather than using one of the flat orthographic views, if we switch now to Custom View, then still using our Z camera tool, we can click and drag, zooming closer to the center of our composition. Here, we can definitely see the adaptive resolution taking over as soon as I interact with the composition. If I change the tool by typing C on the keyboard, we can see the cursor change, indicating that we're now using the Orbit Camera tool. If we click and drag now, we can orbit around the scene at the center of our composition. Again, we have no custom cameras set up, and we're not looking at any guidelines. We simply have some 3D layers set up to show the different axes in our scene. So without a camera in our scene, all three of these tools are going to help us navigate around our different camera views.